Oh, I just realized that the mic is not plugged in, so forgive me.
I was going to say, you are terrible
I am
at
really
starting
bad
things
at
off.
this.
Like half the time we're halfway through a recording and the mic's not, or
My
the recording's
apologies.
not done.
Apparently, it's been a long week.
What do you got, like
Hi,
mommy brain?
let's start over. Welcome to the Tom and Ariana show. We are Tom and Ariana Sylvester, obviously, and we are the creators of the Lifestyle Builders mentorship program and also the founders, hosts of the Family Entrepreneur Life Community. So, what do we got for today, Thomas?
I was going to say, you forgot that we are also awesome parents.
Sure.
Yeah.
We are awesome parents.
Thank you. It's a tough week, so you
We
got to
must be
acknowledge
slightly biased,
not just the business stuff, but the family stuff too, right?
Yes, I'll take it.
All right, so if you guys are watching this show live, let us know below, comment Team Live, and if you're watching the replay, let us know with Team Replay. So if this is the first time you're watching this show, basically what we're doing is we jump on each week and just talk a little bit about entrepreneurship, what's going on in that space, what is going on in our businesses, what are we kind of learning as we navigate through running multiple businesses while also being parents, and then finally talk about just some interesting topics that have come up in our Family Entrepreneur Life Facebook group, which is a place for entrepreneurs that have a family and are trying to build the business and the family at the same time.
Yep.
So if you guys want to check us out there, you can go
other.
to familyentrepreneur.life.com.
Yes. All right.
All right.
Today, we are starting off with some reflections, some lessons from this week. And one of mine has been, I guess this has been over time, but just thinking about it this week is, you see a lot of crossover when it comes to being a business owner and, you know, the people that came from the corporate world and what's appropriate there. Are you looking at me? One of the best things that we've done and that we've seen other people do is having you in your business. So having you show up in your business. So obviously you get to choose how much of that you have, but having some of the personality thrown in there, showing people that you're a real person, has really been helpful to, one, attract ideal audience and clients into the business, but then also to make it more fun, to be enjoyable, you know, to be able to show up every day and like doing it. It's more fun when you can be yourself and not have to worry about being perfect all the time.
Well, I was going to say, you know, you just hit on a key thing is, you know, actually having it enjoyable. Yeah. And what I find a lot of people end up doing is that they might, I don't want to say put on a front, but they act how they think their clients expect them to act, which may get clients, but it doesn't, you know, serve them as how they can show up in their business and how they can actually enjoy it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I mean, there are different levels of it. It depends on the industry that you're in and the niche that you're in and what type of clients and people that you're attracting, I guess. If you want to infuse a little bit more of yourself into your business, I don't think that it's a bad thing. I think it's an amazing thing to add in. And I know some people are shy and some people are a little bit more introverted, and online entrepreneurs, it's easy to kind of hide behind the computer screen, but you're only doing yourself a disservice if you're not letting people see your little quirks and little personality traits, because that's what attracts people to you. Seeing that, oh, hey, that guy's weird like me. I want to buy that service that he's offering because I totally connect with them. So I think that's just a huge piece that I never thought about or knew. When we had business.
Well, when we had our podcast, I think it really came out like we were talking a lot about business, and a lot of the feedback from people was, man, I love the dynamic you two have. Mm-hmm. And it was like, oh, so you listen for the dynamic, but you get the business stuff with it. That's pretty cool. Yeah,
and I think that was one of the reasons we ended up pivoting, was because we didn't include enough of ourselves in that business, and it just made so much more sense when we switched over to being Tom and Ariana.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was your reflection?
Well, before we jump into mine, I would love to hear your reflection, because this isn't just about us. This is really an activity that we do every week where we look back and say, all right, what have we learned either this past week or this past month? And it's amazing how much benefit you get from just taking some time out of that kind of daily grind to think about that. Yeah. So with that, my reflection this week, and I guess really probably the last month, is that we're all trying to get our businesses to work. And when they're not working, it can be frustrating. But the solution isn't necessarily always the same. And sometimes you need to make big pivots in your business. Like, it's just all out not working, and you need to really shift direction. And sometimes it's just making small tweaks. So, I mean, we had a call with a woman this morning, and we were talking about, she was telling us all the things that she was doing, and we had, she was telling us that other people had kind of given her recommendations, and a lot of it was like stuff that she had already done. And as she was explaining it, like, we just kept asking questions to further understand. And at the end of our call, it was like, you know, you actually have a lot of the pieces in place. It's just a couple tweaks or a couple missing pieces that will probably make it all work. Mm-hmm. And by the way, that actually has inspired me. I'm going to write a blog post, probably will come out next week, really talking about puzzle pieces and how they correlate to business, because, you know, kind of putting this all together, I've got this awesome theory I can't wait to share with you guys.
This may or may not have been inspired by a incomplete puzzle that is sitting on our kitchen floor this morning.
You know, if you can't take inspiration from life, where else are you going to get it from? But yeah, so if you're struggling in your business, the thing that I like to look for is, do I need to make a big pivot? Is just what I'm trying to do not the right thing and I've got to completely change? Or can I test out a bunch of small tweaks? Because sometimes it's just the right small tweak or getting that right one piece in place that ultimately makes a difference.
Yeah. All right. So as Tom said, if you've got any reflections from this week or lessons learned, we would love to hear about them. So post them up in the comments below. And then we're going to jump on to our weekly topic or theme of this week. And that is the trends. The trends and the fact that no matter how many times it happens, like people forget trends don't last. And even if some of them obviously last, Facebook was a trend at one point. Obviously, it's still around.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, I guess with trends, it's realizing what they are.
What they are and what they can do for you. I think that's the biggest part.
And what they can do to you if you don't understand what they are.
Correct. So there's always going to be new trends popping up. It's just the way of our culture, the way of society, the way of technology. There's always going to be something new. What we don't want you to do is to keep jumping on to every new trend that comes out, thinking like, this is the next big thing, I've got to get on it. No, this is the next big thing, I've got to get on. It's really looking at the trends and assessing, is this something I could use in my business or my life to be helpful to me? Is this something that aligns with my goals and my values? Is this something I think will work and stick around for a long time? Or is it kind of going to be one of those one-hit wonder things? So really, it's making sure that the next big thing or the next new piece of software or a new social media platform that you're jumping on is not just because everyone else is doing it or because someone said it was the next big thing. It's because it's right for you at that time.
Well, I was going to say, so we just finished up goal planning. I mean, you guys are probably sick of hearing us talking about this now, but the beautiful thing is that we just wrapped it all up. And why we're so intent on planning is that it helps you understand where do you want to go and what are some of the steps to get there. And a side benefit that a lot of people don't realize is that once you have that laid out, when all these trends or shiny objects or whatever you want to call them come up that could potentially distract you or pull you away, you can basically look back and say, well, here was where I want to go, here was my plan, and then is this something that will help me get there and I'm going to incorporate it in? Or is it something that might distract me or might actually prevent me from getting there, and then I can decide that I don't want to do it because I don't want to distract my goal?
Sorry, I got really sidetracked because I read a comment.
You clearly got sidetracked.
Jason Brown is watching and he said it's the TNA show.
I was going to say, you don't even want to know what the tagline is.
Let's just say we didn't think about our name when we put your name.
I was going to say, I love that we got Jason on. So if you guys don't know Jason Brown, you should know Jason Brown.
Yes.
So he has thebrownreport.com, and I got to spend a couple days with Jason recently, and we were talking, and he was just showing me like he helps people trade in the stock market and really build wealth that way.
He educates people on it.
Yep. And so he was spending time, he was kind of showing me like how he looks at things and, you know, where he got in and out of trades. And to be honest, I've always avoided the stock market because I didn't know about it. I didn't understand. And that's a key thing that a lot of people miss when they get into trends is they jump on a trend because everyone else is.
I know what trend you're talking about.
But they don't understand it, and then it ends up burning them.
Yep. He's talking about Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
The new, hottest, next big thing. Everyone is just over the moon about, oh my gosh, Bitcoin. It's the same concept. Don't jump into something just because somebody says it's the next big thing and it's going to make you a lot of money, because most likely it's not.
Well, and here's the thing, to be completely honest, if you bought Bitcoin a month ago or 2 months ago, you may be looking at us now saying, you guys are crazy. I just made $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000, and great, you've made that money now. And there's going to be people that are going to make money and some people that are going to make a lot of money with Bitcoin. But you know what you don't hear about? All the people that lose money when things drop or when they bought at the wrong time because they're throwing money
from a scammy, non-trusting source.
Yeah, I mean, a scammy source, or, even if it gets hacked, or, there's so many things that if you don't understand where you're putting your money, you can get yourself in a significant amount of trouble. And I see people now that are taking their life savings or all this money they put aside for other stuff and throwing it in, being like, oh, Bitcoin just went up 200% since Monday. I'm just going to double my money and take it out. Well, guess what? That could work
tank tomorrow.
But guess what? It could also not work. And what happens if you take that money that you've worked hard for, you've been saving for, and you suddenly throw it into something like that?
I gotta stop reading the comments while we're talking. Jason says, tell them all I have some Chuck E. Cheese coins they can pay me for.
Well, and coming back to Jason, goodness. I wrote a post earlier this week talking about why we're not sad that we didn't invest in Bitcoin and that we're not investing in Bitcoin now. And the reason for that is because we know where we want to go. We've set up businesses and income streams in areas we know. And to be honest, we're not experts in Bitcoin. Yeah. So sure, could we put some money in and maybe make some money? Yeah. But you know what? We can also put money into businesses and things that we know and make money that way. And Jason, I have a lot of respect for because he's sticking with the stock market. That's the thing he knows, right?
Well, it's all dependent on what you're willing to risk, too. I mean, obviously, we're family people. We've got kids. We've got responsibilities. We're not willing to go out and risk money that we've saved up and, have set aside for other things on a trend that could tank. Maybe it could make a lot of money, but I'm not a gambler. I'm not putting my money somewhere where I don't have a guaranteed return on it. So that's just not for me. There are going to be some people out there who take big risks and who make a lot of money off of it. Congrats to them. I wish them the best. But that's just not us. That's not who we are. And we know a lot of other family people out there too. So just don't let the trends blind you to the reality that, it is a big risk and it's not guaranteed. So think of your goals and what you want in your life and, put the work in and invest your money in something that is really going to help you.
Well, I was going to say, and so anytime somebody is recommending something to you, the number one thing you should ask is, why are they saying this? What's in it for them and what are they going to benefit from? So, for example, with Bitcoin, why is everyone talking about Bitcoin right now? Well, guess what? The more people that buy into that, ultimately the higher that price is going to go.
So they make more money.
So it's not necessarily a Ponzi scheme, but the people that have bought in early and tell everyone else to go buy in, they're ultimately making more money. It's the same thing with the stock market, right? If you buy in and then you tell everyone else to buy and it moves the price up, right, the first people are going to make money. Now, let's switch away from Bitcoin and financial topics
let's use a different
to talk
example.
about business, right? So in business, there's always new trends coming up, and especially in the marketing space, right? Because what happens is that there's a marketing channel that works really well and people are on, and then marketers, and we're marketers too, but marketers then destroy that channel. So when they start out, they do.
I know.
We do. Hopefully we don't do it that much, but, basically this is how the trend goes. So there's
somebody comes up with a new idea.
Well, there's something that is working out really well, right? Like Facebook. Mm-hmm. And early on, Facebook was just all free. There was no ads or anything like that. And then businesses have to make money, and marketers will say, oh my gosh, there's all these people there, and all these people I have their attention. So then I'm going to go and I'm going to start advertising, marketing, whatever, and what happens is that it gets so congested that nobody wants to go there, and then marketers find a new channel. And the prices go up
because so many people are marketing.
Absolutely.
So the example that we're alluding to is the recent trend that has now turned a corner, Facebook Messenger bots. And when they first came out, it was huge. It was this awesome new way to connect with your customers and your ideal clients and your audience and engage with them in a different way that seemed more personal and less robotic or less processed out. A lot of people talked about, email lists are losing their engagement rates, and people are getting less open rates, and email lists don't really work anymore because everyone's email inboxes are overflowing with emails from marketers. So the next big thing was going to be this Facebook Messenger bots. And when it first started out, you could have people join into your Messenger bot, and then it was sort of like your email list where you collected all of those people and you could send them out messages for anything. And people had to specifically unsubscribe to stop getting messages from you. So then, of course, they were working really well. They had some amazing open rates when the first messenger bots were coming out and people were doing messenger funnels and really like setting it up in a way to, it was its own funnel and it was a different way to engage with people. Well, obviously, a lot of people took advantage of that, and there were messenger bots that were just sending messages out constantly and driving people up a wall, and I'm sure there were some that were doing illegal things, and of course, Facebook now has changed its policy on how you can interact with people with your messenger bots.
Yeah, so we won't go into this too deep because, you may or may not be using that, but I guess the key point that we want to, talk about here is, trends are always going to be coming up, and when should you get involved in a trend versus when you shouldn't, right? Because we're not saying don't invest in Bitcoin, right? We're not saying
if it's right for you,
don't use messenger bots.
Yeah.
These are just two examples of probably a million. I mean, you guys probably have some trends that you know about now. Leave them below in the comments, but what we're trying to do is educate you guys on what trends are and then how you can take advantage of them when they make sense and how you can avoid them so they don't hurt you when they don't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
So number one thing we said is make sure that you understand your goals and how they align to what you're trying to do.
Yep.
Because if a trend comes up and it's going to distract you or even pull you away and ultimately not get you there, it's not something that you specifically should focus on.
Well, and I mean, I don't think Bitcoin's going anywhere, but we just don't know what ways it's going to change and what ways it will evolve. Same thing with Facebook Messenger bots. They're not going anywhere. It's just changing. So, I mean, people will just have to come up with clever ways of using those for different purposes than getting people on a subscriber list and things like that. So they're still useful. It's just making sure, once again, when you go to sign up for something, you're not just signing up for it because it's the cool new thing or because so-and-so said, oh, you got to go because I'm making all this money with this new trend. It's looking at what the ultimate result is from that particular tool or service or investment, and then how it's going to give you results or what results it's going to give you and what that means for your business.
Yeah, well, I mean, a big part of that is being smart about it. So, for example, if you want to invest in Bitcoin, take a portion of your money, a small portion that if you were to lose it, you would be okay with, and invest that in. Right? If you want to use messenger bots as part of your marketing campaign, well, keep all your existing marketing channels in place, but test this out on a small portion of it. People get in trouble when they go all in on these things, and when you test them out, you can then limit your risk, but also get the upside of the trends. Because the beautiful thing about trends is there's a book out there, Mike Michalowicz wrote it called The Surge. Yeah. Can I go through a show without mentioning a book?
No.
Well, so he wrote it, it's called The Surge, and I think the subtitle is something about like how to ride the tidal wave of your industry. But the whole thing is there's these trends that are always going on. And instead of trying to create something from scratch, one of the great ways to build a successful business is to identify the trends that are going on and then ride that wave. So basically, take advantage of the trend and then utilize that to support your business. So trends can be great. I mean, if like one of the trends that came out was shifting to smartphones, right? How many businesses were built out of riding that trend that still exists today?
Yeah.
Right? So there's a lot of benefits to trends, and there's also downsides. So we really just want to talk about kind of both sides of that and share some examples recently that we've seen people really excited about. But my guess is you're going to look back here at some point and say like, yeah, that trend worked out awesome. This one didn't work out. So yeah, it makes sense for me to just be aware when those come up.
Well, and the biggest thing is to educate yourself on them.
Yeah, because I mean, like, to be honest, Bitcoin is probably going to keep going up for a while. It's like the wild, wild west. Maybe it won't, maybe it will, but it probably will. So with that, if you want to invest a portion of it, just do it smart.
Go and get educated and do what's right for you. That's gonna be the line. So with that, we would love to hear some of the trends, as Tom said, that you've seen, or even some of the trends that are driving you nuts. Post those up in the comments below, and we are gonna jump over to sharing some wins. So if you have had some wins in your business or your personal life, we would love to hear about it so that we can highlight it on the next show. So post up those comments below. And then we had some great... what did I miss?
My number one win, I stole a piece of cheese from Ariana and I didn't get stabbed.
Yeah, in case you haven't seen that, that's in the Family Entrepreneur Life group. I posted a funny little incident that Tom got a nice glare from. Well, see, now you interrupt me, and I don't know what I was saying.
Legit, guys, I'm afraid to do anything in our house because Ariana's going to go post it on Facebook and then get a bunch of people not liking me because I stole a piece of her cheese. I'm legit scared now of doing anything like that.
Hey, you know better.
But long story short, and why I brought that up, that was a great example. So Ariana, basically I stole a piece of her cheese. She's very OCD, so she has the right number of crackers to the right number of slices of cheese.
Slices.
And so she posted that up. And it got a ton of engagement. People really liked it. And that's a great example of how our business and who we are incorporates into it, and then people end up attracting to us.
Yeah, because we're goofballs. What can we say?
We are.
Anyways, what I was going to say was that we had some other fun posts in the group this week. We had a big win from group member Brandon Bowden. He said he made a goal to sell $200 in product this week, and he actually sold $240.
That's
so
awesome.
Congrats, Brandon. Way to go. Way to keep yourself on the ball. And then we had some interesting posts in the group.
As always.
One of them was Tom's, as always. And he asked the question, if you want something done right, you have to do it yourself. Agree or disagree?
Dun, dun, dun.
And that post blew up. A lot of people obviously said disagree. And the trend is, not the trend, I used the wrong word. The point of it all is to say, it's not always about doing it the right way and you have to be that person doing it. It's, can you outsource that or delegate that to someone else who will do it just as well as you or maybe even better than you?
So what's your view on that?
Well, I'm a control freak. So my view is that I always tend to do things that way because I just have to have things done right. And that's how I kind of grew up because I had a parent that was also sort of a control freak. But I've become a lot better. So I'm okay with delegating the tasks out. It just takes me a little bit longer to get to that point where I'm ready to pass that off to somebody. But I think another important point is you always talk about knowing the processes in your own business before you pass them off to people. So I think that's an important point to touch upon. It's great to delegate and it's great to outsource, but a good way to make sure that your business is doing well and that is it's performing well on the back end is to make sure that you actually have an understanding of all of those moving pieces so that when you do go to delegate it out to somebody or to outsource it, you're picking the right person and you have a high level understanding of that process and how it's supposed to work so that they then can pick up that process and do it the way that it's supposed to be done. And that they're doing it right because you have an idea of what it's supposed to look like.
Yeah,
so I don't know what my view is.
I was going to say, did you have a conclusion from that?
No.
You're hanging out with me too much. You can just talk and ask questions, and then it's like, what was I supposed to say?
I don't know.
But so, I think what's interesting, whenever I post up questions like this, everyone's always got a response without necessarily knowing or sharing the context. So, I've worked with leaders and entrepreneurs for a long time, and whenever a question comes up, I had one client I was working with. He joked, he's like, Tom, were you a lawyer in a previous life? And I'm like, no, what do you mean? He's like, every time we ask a question, you ask us one back. And I'm like, yeah, that's why I get paid the big bucks. But so basically what my point is when somebody asks a question, you typically want to understand more context before you give an answer. And in posts like these, it's very telling that, some people are like, outsource 100%. Some people are like, no, I don't want to outsource at all. But one of the questions I always ask when it comes to this is, what's your goal with delegating it? Do you have a goal to grow a very large business and have a very large impact? Well, if so, delegation is going to be part of what you've got to do that, because you're going to hit a point where you can't do anymore. If your goal is to just build a side income, build a lifestyle business for you, you may not want to delegate or hire because it's going to add more overhead and more management, and you got to pay money out. So the first thing I always look at is, it can be great, it can be terrible, but what are your goals? And then what makes sense for your business and what you're trying to do?
Comes full circle. It came right back to where we started, pretty much.
That's what I do. But I mean,
I agree.
Well, and there's times where we keep doing things that, other people might outsource. And there's times where we the biggest thing I can think of is when Ariana used to do the ordering for our wine and liquor store.
Yep.
So at least I intended to build that business so that we had systems and employees in place so that could run with very little time from us. And the way that this usually works in our house is that I start the big idea. I don't deal with the details. So Ariana is great with the details, so she'll put those in place. But then there's a final step of getting it off Ariana's plate and then onto an employee or somebody else to handle that, but it often gets stuck. So one of our most
Once again, control freak.
Well, I was going to say, one of our huge wins was actually having one of our employees take over ordering. And for a long time, Ariana resisted this, even though every week she would complain about having to do this ordering process. And she wasn't physically at the store. She wasn't talking to our customers. So it was very challenging for her to do. Yep. So even though she knew she had to do it and she knew it would take stress off, it was a challenge. But now, how do you feel about that?
Oh, amazing. I don't have to worry about it anymore. And he's doing a better job than I ever did. So it made sense.
Well, I was going to say, and so that's what can happen when you intentionally set things up to do that, when you take time to hire somebody and interview them, just like whether they're a part-time or full-time, interview them like they would be working with you every day.
Yep.
And then to your point, really understand the processes and train them on that, and then have check-ins and oversight. It can be a lifesaver, but it can also be absolutely terrible if you skip over some of those steps or if you hire the wrong people.
Yep. Hi, Kate. And then last, I had a random thought in my head this week, and I'm like, I'm going to post this question in the group.
I get scared every time you say that.
And so I did, and I have a non-business question, and it's, what's something really random that you're good at?
Oh, this is an awesome.
Oh boy,
I was going to say, this is an awesome
did
post.
we have some amazing responses to this one. And oh, don't worry, I'm going to call some people out here. We had Angela Wills, who is apparently an 5-star pen flipper. I can't even explain what it is. You have to go in the group and see the post.
I legit watched that video like 10 times, and I'm like, I don't get it. Like, it was like a magician. Like, I'm like, how do they do the trick?
We had people that were like, I went home and tried this for an hour. I couldn't do it.
Probably like stab myself in the eye if I tried that.
Please don't try it.
It would not end well.
Don't try it around the children. Then we had some people. We had Matt Hoffman, who apparently is a beatboxer. Amazing. I need to see a video.
I was going to say, there's got to be proof if you can put that out there.
Marcy Anderson is our resident baby whisperer. Natalia, who is a nutritionist, posted up the most delicious looking picture of homemade chocolates. And then she made me really want chocolate, so I had to go and eat chocolate. Tammy Fink has a Donkey Kong arcade game in her living room and is currently the holder of the high score in her family. And Jade Hamilton apparently can do an amazing belly roll eyebrow swap trick. I don't know. Oh, it was so much fun. It was so much fun to read everyone's comments, and that's part of why we absolutely love the Family Entrepreneur Life community that we've built so far, is that it's not just all about the business stuff. You know, every week we've got some fun post, or somebody posts a funny picture, and funny memes or GIFs, and we just have a lot of fun in there. And we're so grateful to all of our members in that community for making it so amazing. So that's how we're going to end out today's show.
I was going to say, I'll just tell you that sometimes the weeks can get crazy, with kids and with the business and everything else. And, just seeing that group of people and having, like, even just if you're having a tough week and seeing someone else share a win, like, it's like sweet. Like, people are making this stuff work, and we all have ups and downs, but we're there to support each other.
Yeah. All right. On that note, happy Friday. We hope you have a lovely afternoon. And if you've been around the group, and if you've been listening to our lives, and you love our goal mapping strategy and the way that we talk about goals and planning and putting life first and then putting the business in around it, we will be opening up our Lifestyle Builders mentorship program in January. So if you want to be the first to know when that opens and get some awesome new bonuses, sign up for the waitlist. We will post the link down in the comments below. We would love to have you come and be a lifestyle builder with us.
I was going to say, we've been spending the last couple of weeks with the members that came in a couple weeks ago, and it has been awesome just seeing everyone plan out their year.
Action takers.
Start taking action. It's pumped. And I actually posted up this week and said, what gets you pumped up in your business, and do more of that. And what gets me pumped up, if you guys can't tell, is like just talking about business and working with people and seeing the action and progress they're taking. Like legit, every time I get off a coaching call, I'm just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Let's take over the world.
Every time you say legit, the song Too Legit to Quit starts playing in my head. Now I'm going to be singing that. Okay.
On that note.
On that note, have a great weekend, guys. We'll see you next week.